Welcome back, College Baseball Central fans. We have another episode of the Weekend Rotation brought to you by College Baseball Central. Man, we're excited. What's some great games here? We got weekend two going right now. We got people on site. Monty, how we doing? First episode of the year for us. How we doing today, man?
It's great to be here. I am live from the Jumbo Shrimp Stadium in Jacksonville, Florida. Wichita State is warming up behind me. It's hard to see with the sun coming through, the Florida sun. It's a chilly, crisp 63 degrees this morning. So, really, really cold weather here in Florida, as I'm sure you guys get that. So, yeah, just ready for another great day of college baseball.
Great day of college baseball coming up. Jake McKeever, you're also on site, correct?
Yes, I'm in Arlington. I got to see a masterful pitching performance last night that ended in a no decision. Sorry, Mark, but I'm excited to see both games today. I might jet over to that UCLA TCU series that keeps kind of teasing me out there as it's only a short drive away. So really, really excited. I think Dallas just seems to be the home of college baseball. There's four great series going on.
Fact, we got a lot going on. And Noah, how we doing today, man?
Well, as good as I can while being 6+ hours away from the nearest college baseball series this weekend. We're getting closer. I heard Monty allude to something called a sun. Not really sure what that is. Check back in a few weeks maybe. But, yeah, great to be able to watch, sit in the command center and take it all in on the screen. But in a few weeks, I'm looking forward to sitting in a bleacher with a coat on.
Yeah, I know next weekend I am booked out for 3 series that I'm going to be traveling to, so I'm excited. Our buddy AJ also not joining us today because he is studying for the bar so he can protect me from LSU fans. So pretty excited about that. We're going to get going here early, fellas. Of course, the game to talk about, Oregon State, Arkansas, rematch from the 2018 College World Series. Terrific, right? Like, this was a great outing. Hagen Smith was terrific. Noah, what are your takeaways from that game? Oregon State losing 4-5 to Arkansas last night.
Well, obviously, it all starts with Hagen Smith, his 17 strikeouts. When you record 15 outs and they're all strikeouts to start the game, that's obviously going to lead the headlines for at least one night and probably for a lot longer than that. We saw him struggle in that opening game. He still doesn't have a win because he ended up getting the no decision in what ended up being a great game. But Peyton Holt's RBI triple is kind of the difference at the end there. And it was really a great game that you would have liked to see go into extra innings, but it was a clean 9-inning game. And there were a few times along the way where we saw Arkansas kind of bury the hatchet with Oregon State, where there was a dropped pop-up that Oregon State had, and you thought, well, that's a little poetic. And there were a few times where you thought, okay, Arkansas has moved on from this. And it was overall a great game, and looking forward to a few more great games in Arlington.
Yeah, it was great to watch, and even being on the losing side there with Oregon State, it was a terrific game. Games in March don't kill your season. Games in February definitely don't do anything to your season other than boost you up. As an Arkansas fan, you have to be excited today the way Hagen Smith threw. Disappointed he got the no decision in that. Mason Guerra finally hit his first home run of the season, and it was hammered, 444 feet or whatever. 113 miles an hour. So Jake saw that one live, but it was a really good ball game.
He slammed the bat down. I don't know if the camera angle caught it. I mean, I legitimately thought it was foul because he slammed the bat down so hard, but no, he was just excited. And he didn't say anything running the bases either. That was the part that kind of surprised me. Is he quickly kind of buttoned up the top button. It was like, all right, time to jog the bases.
Yep, go to work. They did work, though, and it was good. Arkansas, that huge double or triple by Holt there ends at. And then they had a double that was a 3 RBI double. Those were the 2 big hits there that Oregon State gave up. And the walks have been an issue for Oregon State. But Arkansas took advantage, and the strikeouts were huge there. I think they ended up with 23 strikeouts last night. Crazy amount. UCLA, TCU. UCLA 3, TCU 4. Jake, this was a very good game. This TCU team's good. UCLA is good. This is another good series this opening weekend, or second weekend.
Yeah, this one is another one that had a very tournament feel. I mean, Peyton Tolley was much, much better. I know that was kind of the big question coming into the weekend. He threw 5 innings, only 2 runs on 88 pitches. And then Brody Green getting the start at third. I mean, Noah and I talked with Sarlos on Monday. He's a guy that's really kind of sat on the back burner in those first 2 series, got some limited playing time in the midweek and showed out. And then again, showing out on the Friday night. So it looks like he's kind of locking down that spot. And then Curtis Byrne at first base. I mean, I know he's a great person behind the plate, and Sarlos is kind of using him in a variety of different ways. But anytime you can get 3 hits out of a platoon guy, I mean, you're going to take that every day of the week.
100%. That's what you need if you're TCU to keep giving those guys opportunities. You got to be deep in rosters to make deep runs in this tournament. Noah, what did you think of the TCU UCLA matchup?
Yeah, I think Jake kind of hit it on the head there. It was a kind of a bounce back from Peyton Tolley, kind of what you expect from a guy in a Friday role at TCU where they have those kind of options. But then I think UCLA starter Luke Jewett pitched pretty well himself, obviously giving up 4 runs, but that's a good number against a TCU ball club that can put up 14 on you in a hurry. And then Malachi Knight was great offensively for UCLA as well. But I'm glad that Jake kind of touched on those key pieces. But then he left out Ben Abel for TCU, who, when you combine him with a strong start with Peyton Tolley or Klecker, whoever it is, TCU is going to be really hard to beat.
Just
TCU's
third
got
save
arms.
Noah too. Just third save. Like third. Yeah, I mean it's insane how many saves he has this early in the season.
TCU likes
start.
a close game like you and I like oxygen.
Well, I'm going to go over to Monty now because we had Washington Pitt. Washington remains winless, to allude to that one. 2-3, Pitt takes care of business. Walk-off home run by Zuckerman in the bottom of the ninth. Monty, you had this called. You said Pitt's going to win this game.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm all aboard the Gritzberg train. In a game where C.J. Funk and Luke Cantwell would have combined 0 for 7, Pitt finds a way to get the win. But this freshman Ryan Zuckerman has been fantastic. He had a 2 home run game, and obviously the walk-off home run to win it. But on the pitching side, they're getting some really quality pitching. The Rhode Island transfer Ryan Andrade, 4.2 innings, 9 strikeouts, just the 1 earned run. Really fantastic. And then another guy, a Gardner Webb transfer, and Phil Fox, 2.2 scoreless innings. He's really been good for them in his couple appearances out of the bullpen. So really, really enjoying watching Pitt baseball. They're 4-0. They swept their first opening series since 2013. They're going to cause some problems for teams in the ACC. Just a scrappy, dare I say it, gritty Gritzberg team.
See, this is what I'm talking about. These kind of performances from a Pittsburgh team in the ACC keeps telling me that ACC is better than SEC this year. Now we'll have to wait. I'm not going crazy. I'm just saying I've been on that train for a while, saying the ACC is actually better at baseball this year than SEC. I think it's deeper. I think there's better teams, but we're gonna find out. Another tough one for Washington, though. I mean, 5 hits, and they just cannot find the offense. We'll talk about some more teams out here on the West Coast that can't find the offense, but my goodness, that is just not a good one here for Washington, starting off the season winless so far. Northwestern 0, Duke 2. Monty, I'm going to go back to you on this one. I'm a little concerned with Duke only scoring 2, but it's still a win. A win's a win.
I wouldn't be concerned at all. They won 4-2 in the middle of the week as well. I haven't seen 2 run deficit games be so dominated. You never felt like anyone was threatening them in either of those 2 games. And that, that gives the offense a chance to reset for the rest of the weekend. Ben Miller hit an absolute bomb, and that's all they needed in the first inning. Wallace Clark continues to be clutch at the bottom of the lineup. But, I mean, the main story has got to be Jonathan Santucci. Again, he's looking better than ever. 10 strikeouts, 6 innings of work, just an absolutely dominant performance from the lefty, and that's huge for Duke, knowing that you've got that guy going Friday nights, and he's better than he's ever been. But then on the back end of the bullpen, Charlie Bielenson. I mean, you had the story with Duke last year was Fran O'Shell and James Talon at the back end of the bullpen, and then now Charlie Bielenson has taken his stuff to another level, and he's the closer for the foreseeable future for Duke, despite having those 2 guys that were coming back as a sophomore and a junior, respectively.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So if Santucci goes out there and gives you 6-7 innings like he did, boy, that just saves the red bullpen for the rest of the weekend. Also, like you said, they got so many arms. Noah, looking at this game here, that 2-0 doesn't necessarily look daunting, but like Monty alluded to, it never felt like Northwestern was in this ball game.
Yeah, but at the same time, you have to feel good if you're Northwestern. This is a Duke ball club that scored 1 million runs in that loaded Conway Regional that we were talking to Chris Pollard about. Obviously, you would like to see him score a run, but Jonathan Santucci is a really good player. Great arm form, like Monty said, 10 strikeouts. But then this is a Northwestern team that's kind of on a deep rebuild. You think of a team like Baylor, they're kind of in a similar position where it's a long way to go. So you're not overly discouraged with this performance. It could have been a lot worse for this Northwestern team. But for Duke, Ben Miller, Wallace Clark driving in those RBIs. Those are names we've heard a few times for this Blue Devil club. Wallace Clark, the Oklahoma transfer. Great to see those guys come through. You're not worried about the Duke offense on a night-to-night basis, but there are certain times this season where they're going to win these close games, and you say, do they have the offense? But we have seen them at times show that they do.
Yeah, and they have the arms. Like that's the key for them, right? They can go out there and they go get those outs when they need to. Really
Yeah.
impressive still from Duke. Really happy with that this Duke team.
Yeah, I mentioned it midweek. They were able to throw, and I hope I don't butcher his name, but Tim Noon and then Gabriel Nard, who are guys that are like 9 or 10, 11, 12 guys deep in their pitching staff, and they're able to absolutely dominate a midweek game.
Yeah, makes a big difference when you have that many arms going. Speaking of another arm, Jake, Texas 2, Cal Poly 0. LeBaron Johnson Jr., 2 hits, 8 innings, 8 Ks. I mean, you got to be really excited if you're a Texas fan, other than the run production not being there.
Yeah, Monty kind of mentioned that, it never really kind of felt like the game was that close at 2-0. At Texas, it kind of felt like it was the opposite. I mean, the offense really kind of never got going outside of Jared Thomas, who scored a run and then drove the other one in. They really didn't have much offensively. And then from a pitching standpoint, I mean, Texas is almost kind of famous for these pencil-in Friday night guys that'll go out and absolutely shove. It's kind of the people behind them that we have questions about. I expect kind of Charlie Hurley to be a lot better today. But again, if you can get 8 innings out of your starter and save all those deep, deep bullpen pieces that Texas has, I mean, that just kind of seems to be the formula, it seems like, for these teams.
Yeah, Cal Poly just couldn't get the offense going. LeBaron Johnson Jr., he was just really, really good. Hitting his spots, getting the ground outs, really productive there. And Cal Poly felt like they were trying to keep pushing back every time they got somebody on base, and they just couldn't get that hit to get through. So 2-0, Texas wins that one. Kennesaw State, Monty, 18-1 over Clemson. What happened there?
Well, the Clemson 1 through 8 hitters went a combined like 1 for 14. Canarella had the only hit between those top 8 hitters, and I mean, they just completely got shut down by Braden Osbolt through 6 innings. He only gave up that 1 hit to Canarella, and then after that, Clemson kind of waved the white flag and brought in their substitutes. They ended up managing just 5 total hits. And then, to avoid the shutout, they got a home run by a guy named Brody Kahn in the 8th inning. They were already down 17-0. So a bit of a bad game from the pitching staff. I mean, Billy Barlow gave up 5. Is Jake just laughing again?
Yeah, I just think it's fun, like the old pity home run. Like, oh, we feel bad for you.
Yeah,
And then the Clemson fans will be like, yeah, never gave up the fight, just ran out of time.
Yeah. Even though, they subbed everybody in. So, Billy Barlow still, he had a little bit of a rough outing in the first week against Xavier, but settled in after the first inning. But then this time, I mean, never settled in and was chased pretty early. And the bullpen didn't do much better, as you can tell from the final scoreline.
Yeah, 2 more games still to go for the weekend, so not really necessarily a panic there, but
Yeah.
not great whenever you lose a game 18-1. Never a good feeling there. Jake,
Yeah.
Anything to take away from this one?
I want to apologize to all the Clemson fans. That one kind of felt like it was on me. I had said before the game that I thought Clemson had the best chance to be the last undefeated team in the country, and I gave them the kiss of death. So South Carolina fans have already told me to not give them the same kiss of death, so we'll have to regroup and kind of see who I think is going to be the last one undefeated, because it was not Clemson very early on.
Yeah, that opportunity was door closed pretty fast there. Moving on to another team, Oregon 17, Lafayette 2. RJ Gordon gets win number 1 of the season, even though he threw really good in game 1. This Oregon Duck team seems like if they can put the offense together, Monty, that they might be a problem for people. And they're going out there. They got a bomb from Walsh. They got 3 guys hit 3 hits. This Oregon Duck team, if they can put the offense together, their pitching staff is actually built for success, right?
I mean, if they could put the offense together, I mean, they scored in every inning except the 9th inning. 10 extra base hits. That'll do. That'll play. That's more than enough offense to get the job done. So you got to be impressed with that. I mean, they are playing Lafayette, but that's not a terrible ball club. I mean,
no,
it's not a tiny school. So to really go out there and do that on a Friday night against you would expect Lafayette's best starter. You got to be really happy with the results. I mean, again, 10 extra base hits. Jeffrey Hurd and Bennett Thompson. Yeah, I mean, they both had 2 extra base hits apiece, so double and a triple for each of them. So, they're not just with the home run; they're getting the doubles and the triples as well. So you got to be really pleased with that performance last night from the Ducks.
Yeah, they were banging the ball around the yard, all sorts of guys doing work. It was very impressive to see. And then RJ Gordon going out there and shutting the door on that Lafayette team. It's a good Lafayette team. They're battling trying to get in the tournament this year. They're trying to. They think they will. So going out there and beating a team like that's pretty good. And then they got the rest of the weekend coming up for the Ducks. Looking forward to the rest of that one going on here in Eugene. Noah, Indiana State, the Sycamores come back and beat Michigan State 8-7. Michigan State also lost the next game. It's a tough look for Michigan State, but Indiana State just keeps finding ways to win.
Yeah, kind of a brutal stretch for Michigan State there, where they had to play 2 games in that Snowbird Classic down there. But it took a walk-off pass ball for Indiana State to kind of come back. Christian Williams got Michigan State off to an early lead, but then Indiana State was able to hit their way back into the game, like we've seen from them for 2 years now. Luis Hernandez was just massive for Indiana State yesterday. Several RBIs. I know he went yak as well. Great game for him, and I think Indiana State has a certain amount of grit to them where we saw it a little bit last year. I think we know that the pitching was a little stronger last year, but this is a team that just finds a way to win right now. I don't know how loaded that team in the Snowbird Classic is, but you would think that Michigan State is a win that you can feel pretty good about. They're a power conference team in some sports. But Indiana State is kind of a team to keep an eye on here because they kind of got overlooked to start the season.
Yeah, they weren't really anybody's top 25. They were a year ago. They hosted. They did all the right things. And there's no really reason why people left them off there other than they just don't have any of those big names. And now they're coming out and showing that they have the big names again. Jake, Michigan State just not starting off hot, but Indiana State, good win for them?
It almost felt like one of those SEC sleepwalk series that everybody's super hypercritical on, like last week, almost like an LSU in Arkansas. I mean, it took a pass ball in the 8th for them to tie the game, and then another pass ball in extras to win it. The attendance numbers, when I was looking at the box score, that's one that I kind of had a good chuckle about. I know a lot of teams lie about their attendance numbers. 223 is what they had listed. So hopefully that wasn't a lie there, but it just made me laugh. That was the lowest attendance number I think I'd ever seen.
Yeah, that sometimes you say around 500 if you're under 500. Like
Yeah.
We were around 500 for the day. 223 is not a great number there for that one. But yeah, good for Indiana State. Doesn't matter how you get wins this early in the season. You just got to start collecting them, especially against, like we said, Big 5 programs there. Columbia and Florida. Columbia 6, Florida 15. Speaking of sleepwalk, Florida got up early, and it really just never felt like Columbia was in this game. And Columbia is a good baseball team, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, they're the favorites in the Ivy, and this was their opener. I think it's going to come down to Princeton, Penn, and Columbia. And I expected, honestly, a lot more from them to come out. But, I mean, when you get punched in the mouth 10-0, I mean, you're not going to win any games like that. I got the stat line here from the starter. 1 1/3 inning, 5 hits, 8 runs, 1 walk. So he was finding the zone, but wasn't really being effective at all. And then Brody Donay had another long home run. I feel like I want to talk about Brody Donay as much as Monty wants to talk about Gritzberg. I just love watching Brody Donay hit the ball a long way.
That's not possible.
I don't think that number exists, Jake.
So now that we're back to talking about Pitt. No.
Monty, Florida puts up 15. Good sign for Florida after the one struggle, I guess, last weekend.
Yeah, I mean, to really jump out, like Jake said, with those, punch them in the mouth, 10-0, really, like, just settle the team down. Because you have to wonder if they get up to a slow start again, they're like, oh, here we go again. They didn't get a chance to get right out and get back at it after their loss to St. John's last weekend. So they got to be pleased with the way they came out against a good Columbia team from the Ivy League. Luke Heyman, 2 extra base hits. You got to love that. The primary catcher, as Brody Donay is primarily the DH, but you got to be pleased with that performance. And then Cade Fisher was able to kind of just do Cade Fisher things. 5 innings and 10 strikeouts, just a casual day at the office for him.
Yeah, good bounce back for Fisher, right? Good to see him go out there and go get that win, get those strikeouts, and really look much more comfortable in that one there. Speaking of a team to look comfortable, Wake Forest 14, Dayton 2. Monty, I know you were excited about this one. Hartle gets his second win of the season. Tellier gets 3 hits, 2 home runs, and a double. The offense is starting to wake up for Wake.
Yeah, a little bit. Obviously, that's what you want to see from the guys that aren't named Nick Kurtz or Seaver King. You got the production from Adam Tellier. You got 2 doubles from Tate Ballestero. You got a home run and a home run from Jake Reinisch. So getting those other guys to produce offensively is going to be key for Wake Forest. But at the same time, Nick Kurtz and Seaver King need to settle down a little bit, realize they don't need to carry the offense as their supporting cast kind of picks up. They did both have extra base hits. They both had doubles yesterday as well. So that's pleasing to see. This is the Wake Forest team that we expected last weekend during the midweek. We finally get it here in the second weekend, and then Josh Hartle just kind of, again, just goes out and casually dominates. And yet you kind of look at the scoreline and be like, he gave up an earned run and he only had 6 strikeouts, but I mean, still really good. And he got his 200th career strikeout over the course of the game.
No, you want to add something on the Wake Forest?
No, nothing on Wake Forest. I just want to say that I started to have an out-of-body experience there listening to BP in the background of Monty's window there. The pings of the bats are not something that I've heard in person yet, so that's about the closest I've gotten just over and over. And it sent me somewhere. I don't know where I am right now.
Fair enough. So
wait till you hear Pig Suey. No, that was kind of my same feeling. I had missed hearing Pig Suey.
I don't intend on hearing it this year.
You don't have the Omahogs? Anyway, NC State 17, Hawaii 12. Kind of a back and forth battle there. Monty, I'm going to let you start with this one because NC State, the late night. Coming back, though, they were battling with that Hawaii team. 17 runs is good for NC State.
The 17 runs is great, but the 12 is not. I mean, you have Sam Highfill, Shane Van Dam, and Logan Whitaker pitching. Those are 3 of your top arms, and they all didn't pitch particularly well after, opening day. You got Highfill and Van Dam to pitch the entire 9 innings in their win over VCU, and they looked pretty good. And then, I think Shane Van Dam had 1 inning and walked 5. So while you are pleased with the offensive performance, you got to be disappointed a little bit with the pitching staff. But Alek Makarovich having a day, 2 home runs, homered from both sides of the plate as he is a switch hitter. 1 was a grand slam, 6 RBIs, really, really big for them. But it was also really good to see them bounce back when Hawaii got back into the game and explode, in the second half of the game.
Yeah, this Hawaii team's not bad. It's hard to travel to Hawaii, and Jake, I know we were trying to keep up with this one. It just kept getting later and later and later. But the win's a win for NC State. Hawaii's still battling. Hawaii's not a bad team.
Yeah, I do want to credit Monty for just attacking. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name, the ECU transfer. I know that on the ACC show we avoided certain names that we didn't know how to pronounce. So I really want to credit Monty for attacking the bull straight on.
I was practicing. I normally would just say AMAC. That's even what I write down in my stat sheets and everything. But I was listening to the broadcast and I was like, I'm gonna practice his name tonight.
Number 99.
I was like Makarovich. I got this.
You nailed it.
I do want to go on a rant here. I was trying because I fell asleep during this game. I was trying to look at the Hawaii stats this morning. It was the single most confusing thing I've ever seen. Outside of the win, I did switch to the NC State one. I had no idea what was going on. They did a terrible job of portraying the game on that stat broadcast.
You should have stayed awake.
Yeah.
They had no pitchers labeled, so I was flipping back and forth between the lineup card. So it was just
it's all one team, brother. Don't be hating on Hawaii.
Mahalo, yeah. Mahalo.
Hey,
but it was a good bounce back win for NC State. All joking aside, it's tough to go out there, and this is probably one of the better Hawaii teams we've seen the last few years. They're going to do a lot of damage in the Big West. So anytime you can kind of go out there, and I think they just love playing on Friday night because they had the long game with Ole Miss last week. Then they played deep into the night. It's almost like they're trying to play until some of those early games kind of kick off on the East Coast. So they're doing us all a favor.
I don't think that's
just keeping baseball going.
I don't think they're trying to make it go late. I think it's a time zone thing, Jake. Do you know how those work?
No, but they already start late, and then they play 4 or 5 hour games out there because they go into extras.
It's not that late for them. No. They're starting at 6 o'clock. It's 6 hour time difference for you guys on the East Coast and 5 for the Central Time Zoner. So it's
I'm just
late.
Jake, they're not actually finishing at 2 a.m.
They're America's team, Monty. They're it's only 10 o'clock here, but on the East Coast we got to play until they wake up and see us.
I mean, we love that they're going they go all night, so we're fine. Yeah. We're happy with it. We're going to be keeping going with it. No, I'm going to jump to you here because we got Illinois
Thank you.
9, Coastal Carolina 17. Some good things from Coastal, but giving up 9 to Illinois. Illinois started the first inning with 3 home runs and going up 4-0. Take us through this one a little bit.
Well, I always like when you start to steal what I'm about to say. They went up 4-0 in that first inning, and then Coastal ended up winning 17-9. Obviously, Jake Books and Zach Beach. If your last name is Beach, you better be playing for Coastal Carolina. We're pretty big for the chance there. And then weather was kind of the story. There were multiple delays in this game. It ended up being I think a 6 or 7 hour game between these two, and Coastal was just kind of able to do what Coastal does: score a million runs at home and smother the other team. You're a little concerned with the pitching there because they did get beat up early on, but overall, you can kind of just flush it and move on in that category because your offense is that prominent, especially at home. Derek Bender is such a special player.
Yeah, does Coastal Carolina have 7 B names in the lineup? I was trying to go through them Bender, Books. So I'm like, what is happening with all these B names? It's insane. But Coastal takes care of business 17-9. It was good for them. Speaking of another team that went through some fun rain delays and weather delays, Monty, Virginia takes care of business there, winning it in the bottom half there. Virginia 5, Wichita State 4.
2 rain delays and extra innings, my friend. We talked about on Thursday night how dangerous this Wichita State could be in this tournament. They almost pulled off the shocking upset. They led most of the game. If they weren't tied, they led until the very end. Caden Favors was outstanding, 6 2/3 innings, really shut down a Virginia lineup that had scored 50 runs in their first 4 games. The way they attacked Ethan Anderson and Griffo Farrell, the 2 guys that you're circling in Virginia's lineup, was very, very impressive. I believe they went a combined 0 for 11 with just a walk that Ethan Anderson earned in the 10th inning. And the way Virginia was able to fight back despite that struggle. And then the freshman, Henry Ford. I mean, so this is their 5th game. He's already been interviewed 3 times because he's been player of the game. So he's hitting cleanup, and, you're able to get these, grinds out of guys at the bottom of the order. Bobby Whalen in the bottom of the 10th, they're down 1 run. He's able to grind out like a 8-9 pitch at bat and get a walk. And that really got the rally started. Just a really, really impressive performance. Aiden Teal continues to be really, really good at the back end of the bullpen. He had 5 strikeouts in 2 innings. He did have 1 pitch that was absolutely blasted to left. But other than that, it was perfection from Aiden Teal. So the pitching looked better. Jake, stop it.
This is cinema, Monty.
Jake, I know that this Wichita State team, they lost 17 players in the offseason. It was the Wichita State Exodus, and they're still battling. They're still coming back here. They had a chance in this game. Good for Virginia to get this win, though.
Yeah, I came away very impressed with how Wichita State kind of did it. I know I was very, very low on them in the preview show. I said that they weren't going to win the game, and they really almost stole one here for Virginia. But, I mean, Virginia's offense, it almost just seems like a python. They grind out these at-bats. They just kind of squeeze out their opponent. And then at the end of the game, once they get to that bullpen, is really where they kind of shine. But I did have a question, Monty. How did you think that Henry Ford's double was a home run? It wasn't even close. And then they chased the ball in the game. It bounced off and they went chasing it.
So by the time so it was from the press box, the ball was looking like it was going over. It just kept carrying. And it hit off the wall. So don't say it wasn't close. It hit off the wall.
It was a third of the way up the wall. It was a tall wall.
And I was looking, and when I saw the crowd go wild and him throw his hand up like that, I thought it had been a home run. I didn't realize that who was at second base that Anderson had crossed home plate so quickly, because I didn't realize how long the ball had been in the air. So I didn't, I thought it was too quick for it to have been over if it was a double rather than a grand slam. So the excitement caught up in it because opposite field too, and it just kept carrying. It was a fun game.
Fun game. Big win for Virginia. We like to see those this early in the season. Washington State 6, Kentucky 4. Noah, I will say Grant Taylor was great for Washington State. He's 2-0 this year. He's given up 1 hit in the 6 innings. Only 2 hits for Kentucky to get the 4 runs, though?
Yeah, it's kind of a Kentucky team that we saw last year, kind of trying to manipulate the RPI. Obviously, they're in a in a tournament this time, but last week they were on the road at South Carolina Upstate. This is a team that at the end of the year, you have a feeling that you're going to be looking at this team and say, wow, they must be really good, when we have to circle back to games like this where you get beat by a frankly not outstanding Washington State team. You mentioned Grant Taylor pitched really well. Nate Swartz and Joey Kramer were kind of the secret sauce offensively for the Cougs there, which is Cougs, not to be confused with Coogs at Houston. I learned that difference this week. And then Chase Grillo came in for the save for Washington State. So overall, it was kind of great pitching that shut them down. But then they used offense too. It's exactly what you need in a win like that in a neutral location.
Washington State just keeps taking care of business early in the season. Really, the surprise of the Pac-12, I'd say, so far as the positive side, that Washington State just keeps going out there and winning. Another team that's a positive for the Pac-12 that I know Noah and myself have been high on all preseason, Cal 8, UConn 4. Rodney Green Jr. hits another home run. Nothing from Loma Vita, and they're still just taking care of business here. What do you think about that, Noah?
Yeah, you don't need him if Rodney Green is going to be on. He was somebody that when we did our Pac-12 preview, I kind of gave him a shout out as somebody to watch for Pac-12 Player of the Year, even though he's probably not the best player on his own team, which is kind of a testament to how deep this Cal roster can be. Seth Gwynn also went yak for him. Great game for him. This team is just so underrated. They overcame a great performance from pitcher Garrett Coe for UConn. Yeah. He struck out eight guys in the first 3 innings, which is, Hagen Smith-esque. And then they just said, all right, let's restart. Let's reset the lineup. And they did. Ryan Taman ended up hitting one that kind of decided the game later on. So this is a Cal team that they're getting guys more at bats. They're getting a little bit more experienced. We'll see what it's like when we reach conference play. But so far, they're one of my 2 teams, and I'm kind of enjoying tuning in and watching them, where I can identify that maybe they're going to be inconsistent this season, but they're going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, Jake, this UConn team's not bad, and Coe going out there and taking care of business. And then Rodney Green Jr. hits a home run, and then the Cal train just starts going. This Cal team might be pretty good.
Yeah, I might hop on this Cal trade. I mean, they're an exciting team to watch. I mean, we didn't even mention, I think it's Peyton Scholes is how you pronounce it.
Yep.
The more we talk about Cal, I think the more we're going to get familiar with these names too as well. And they really had a big league approach. I mean, like Noah mentioned, that first time through their lineup, I mean, they were getting struck out left and right. They regrouped, they made an adjustment, and then in the 5th, they were able to chase them, and that really was the story of the game. I mean, Noah always shows that meme of, great pitching, but show me the bullpens. And if Cal can get into the bullpen of UConn, I think that they're going to be very, very great. Why are you shrugging? You always love that meme.
I don't even know what you're referencing. Sometimes
the one from American Psycho, where he's like with the glasses, where he's like, good pitch, show me the bullpens.
I understand the idea, but I've literally never seen that. So
well, it's your idea, Noah. Obviously, you've never seen it.
I'll take credit since it's so great.
I actually got the reference, but I didn't want to help Jake out.
Okay.
Just choosing to not help Jake. Well, speaking of another 8-4 win, Indiana takes care of Baylor. Noah, Devin Taylor, 3 hits, 3 for 3. Pine, 3 hits. Tibbetts, 3 hits. Our Indiana Hoosiers are they're for real.
Yeah, this is a team to watch in the Big Ten. I know that's kind of an oxymoron. But this Indiana team's off to a great start this year. Tyler Cerny didn't even do anything for him yesterday, and he's somebody that I think has a chance to be a star in the Big Ten. Brock Tibbetts just kind of does it all for that Indiana team. He's got the power. He's got one of those batting stances where you look at him and you say, all right, this guy has a chance to leave the yard anytime, and that's what he's capable of. Devin Taylor is kind of a spark plug in that offense, has a chance to win Big Ten Player of the Year. You hope Hunter Simmons is okay for Baylor. Kind of had a scary collision against the wall, and sounds like maybe an ankle injury because he was able to move a little bit, but he did get carted out of there. So that's something to keep an eye on if you're a Baylor fan. He's had a great start to the season, so that's a tough loss for them. But a great win for Indiana. They just kind of controlled it the whole way. And it's like I always say, the start was great, but show me the bullpen. The bullpen kind of let Baylor get back into it just a little bit, but Indiana held on.
Indiana's a good ball club. I think that we have all said this year that we think the Big Ten might get more teams in the tournament. And it's games like this. Indiana taking care of business when they need to, going out there and getting those wins. I really like Devin Taylor. I think he's a stud. I think he is going to be up there for Player of the Year in the Big Ten this year.
No, is that who you were referring to when you said Baylor player died? Because there was no context in the group chat. No, it just said a Baylor player died. And we were like, what the hell? He never expanded on it.
I did. I sent the context later.
Yeah, it was later. It was much later, but it was later. But
It
we
wasn't
were
much
fine.
later. It was later. It was not much later.
It was too late for me. Monty, UNC 2, East Carolina 1. I know a lot of people are excited about watching this one. Not a lot of offense there, but, tell us a little bit about this one and that home run in the 8th inning there.
So you got to be pleased if you're a UNC fan that you're able to get the win against Trey Savage. Folger Boaz went 4.2. He's a true freshman starting on Friday night, and he goes toe for toe for those first few innings. Obviously, Savage goes longer, so you then had to turn to Dalton Pence in the bullpen. But you got to be really pleased with the pitching performance from the bullpen arms and Folger Boaz. They continue to be really, really good. And now you're going to get to face not Trey Savage Saturday and Sunday with your experienced lineup. So you got to feel really good about winning this series against East Carolina. And Vance Honeycutt, the average isn't quite there, but he's having really good at bats. 4th home run of the year, go-ahead home run in the 8th inning that is ultimately the difference. I think we can say he's back after a disappointing sophomore season by his standards. So I think we can say Vance Honeycutt's back. 4th home run of the year, wins the game for the Tar Heels.
I've always said this, the Mike Trout of college baseball. Excited to see him out there hitting home runs when they really matter there. Jake, this is a very, very, very good team, and both these teams are really good, and both are expecting to be long, deep runs in the tournament. UNC having to go with the freshman on Friday night, going out there and beating a Savage, it's got to be a big boost for UNC.
See, Mark, you're going to say that they have to, but I think Folger Boaz earned the Friday night role. I mean, in every sense of the word, he was the ace that UNC was kind of looking for. I mean, they brought in a talented freshman class. I know Arkansas's was ranked number 1, but I almost liked UNC's class a little bit more. I mean, they just have a ton of pitchers. And then Monty was giving me all this crap for saying Vance Honeycutt's back for having all these home runs in our ACC recap show. I mean, he's quickly turned it into, you said the Mike Trout, almost the Adam Dunn, where all he does is hit home runs. 1 for 4 with a home run and wins the game is a good stat line.
Nobody's the Adam Dunn of baseball. Come on. Nobody's the Adam Dunn of college baseball yet.
And to be clear, Folger Boaz has earned the Friday night role, but it's only a consequence of Jake Knapp's injury. So
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting to, Monty. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. He wouldn't have got the opportunity. He probably would have pitched on the weekend, not Friday. He wouldn't have been your Friday guy. So it's good for UNC, though, to go out there and go get those Friday wins and keep boosting this kid up and saying, hey, keep going out there, getting us outs on Fridays. We're going to compete for you on the back end. So I love it. Monty, West Virginia, Charlotte, just a weird kind of game, back and forth, lots of runs late. 12-8, West Virginia takes care of it. Grant Hussey, good day for West Virginia, but it really was not a good day for pitching.
Yeah, but, they weathered it without Weatherholt, didn't they?
Yeah.
Like you said, Grant Hussey, Skylar King, the center fielder, 3 for 5 with a home run, 2 stolen bases, big day for him. And then the shortstop, Brody Kressler, really delivering with, an extra base himself, 3 for 5 day, some RBIs. So, West Virginia, the pitching wasn't great, but Charlotte's a decent team. They put up, we know they can score some runs. And Jake can do the little all he wants, but it's not.
They lost a lot.
It's not his turn to talk, so he can shut up.
That's why I needed to make mimes. I needed to make hand gestures.
Yeah, I'd like to point out that it says Mark and Monty for Charlotte and West Virginia, not Jake. So mute yourself.
I will agree with Jake in the fact that they did lose a lot of their power numbers, but this is not a bad Charlotte team. I'm with you, Monty. This is a pretty good Charlotte team. I think they're going to compete this year. And it's a good win for West Virginia with no J.J. Weatherholt. We're expecting him back soon, hopefully. But, West Virginia got to go out there and collect wins because they have not been that great on the staff this year so far this season. Speaking of another team that has not been great at collecting outs but did pretty good against Michigan, Oklahoma State 9, Michigan 3. Jake, I know you were there. This Oklahoma State team really finally seemed to get the offense rolling after their Sunday game last week.
Yes, they started really slow. I mean, obviously Sunday they won 19-1, and that's kind of what should have happened, I think, at the other two games. But Nolan Schubar hit a long home run, probably about 450, 460, 18 rows up above the bullpen that everybody in the ballpark kind of dropped their jaws on. And then late, the game kind of dragged on, if I'm being honest with you. Michigan went to the bullpen, and it really, really wasn't effective, and Oklahoma State really took advantage of it. There was a lot of walks, a lot of extra bases getting taken, and it really was kind of a good, hey, we're not looking ahead, but we know what awaits. I mean, they have they have Arkansas tonight and then Oregon State Sunday. So it was good for Oklahoma State to kind of check that box. But again, they have bigger things waiting for them than the Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah, bigger games coming, but the thing for Michigan is so many different players in this lineup so far in this early season, and they really haven't found any magic sauce there. Monty, are you worried about this Michigan team?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's easy to say. Safe to say. I mean, Mitch Voigt's great, but I mean, he did well at the plate yesterday, 2-4 with a double. But I mean, on the pitching side, 2 earned runs. I know he only gave up 2 earned runs, but 4 runs total, 5 innings. He's the guy in the lineup and on the staff that you're circling, and then it's kind of a bit of a void there after that. So they're going to need to figure out who's going to step up after him. If they want to compete in the Big Ten. Indiana and Iowa look really, really good, and then you can't discount Maryland despite how much they've lost because they've experienced a lot of success over the last couple of years. So it's going to be a really tough uphill battle for them in the Big Ten.
Yep, and it's brutal. They got a lot of room to grow there, and it's just not there at the moment. But we're gonna have to find out what happens there. This Michigan team's got Oregon State today, and then they get to play Arkansas on Sunday, so it doesn't get any easier this weekend for them. Speaking of easy wins, Stony Brook 5, LSU 2. Noah, is this just a surprise? I mean, in the runs that LSU scored were on a missed fly ball. It was counted as a sac fly for 1 RBI because they should have caught it and got the outs, but then they get in the second run. But that's all they did, and Hurd is hit again. Like it's tough.
Yeah, the question you kind of have to ask yourself is why is LSU scheduling Stony Brook? Obviously, it's a team that you should be able to beat, but this is a Stony Brook program that kind of has LSU's number. That's probably not something that a head coach would ever recognize when you're scheduling a team, but it's kind of a pattern at this point. Rob Taylor was just huge offensively for Stony Brook, 2 for 4, 2 doubles, 3 RBIs. But then the story of the day was pitching for this Stony Brook team to shut down that LSU offense for the most part. Eddie Smink getting the start, and then freshman Eric Paulson coming into relief and really just having these massive stones on him in a place like Baton Rouge where any ball could theoretically be tattooed for a homer, and you would hear whatever that commentator says every game. But yeah, you can pucker up. But the story is kind of LSU fans are starting to wonder, is Luke Holman going to be the Friday guy in the near future? It's not necessarily a slant on Thatcher Hurd, but Luke Holman has looked like the better guy so far a little
Yeah, Thatcher Hurd has not been the guy.
Limited just by 1 here. But you'd want to see him do it again tomorrow or today and really have another look at who's maybe kicking off this weekend rotation. That's the name of the show.
Yeah, it's tough because Thatcher Hurd, we know he has the stuff, and he got the strikeouts. He's just getting hit right now. When he misses, he's missing over the middle of the plate, and guys like Taylor hitting a pair of RBI doubles. He's getting hit by people that probably shouldn't be able to hit him, and that's kind of scary if you're an LSU fan. If you're going to keep him on Friday nights, and then you're going to say, hey, you got to go face Hagen Smith and try to compete with that, and that's not a good look up for LSU this year. But long season, they still first loss of the season there for LSU. They're just going to have to find some answers in the weekend rotation.
That's the show.
A team that's starting to find out their weekend rotation. Vanderbilt 12, Gonzaga 2. Jake, pretty just business-like for Vanderbilt, right?
Yeah, I know that. I don't know if it's PTSD from last weekend, but I kept waiting for the bullpen to kind of walk a bunch of guys and get Gonzaga back into it. But I mean, the bullpen was tremendous for Vanderbilt. And then they really, really added on in the middle innings. They scored 8 of their 12 runs in the 4th, 5th, and 6th. I'm going to call it Virginia-esque. They kind of grinded out a ton of at-bats. They got into the bullpen and really kind of took advantage of it there. And again, this isn't the Gonzaga team that we had when we first started the weekend rotation. This is a new Gonzaga team and not for the better, unfortunately.
Fair. And this Gonzaga team is just not what they were a couple of years ago. And I've been saying that all season. I said it last year. This Gonzaga team is not what they were 2 years ago. Apodaca's not walking through the door and getting 4 hits at the top of that lineup. It just doesn't exist. Noah.
Yeah, I know it's crazy. It was crazy during the pandemic because all the eligibility, but eventually these guys do run out of eligibility. So
yeah, they can't be there for 6, 7, 8 years now. So Noah, this Vanderbilt team, they needed this kind of win, right?
Yeah, it's one where obviously Carter Holden was really strong with his 8 strikeouts, but then you have guys like Jaden Davis and Braden Holcomb, who are now able to get a little bit more immersed in that Vandy lineup and be able to hit the ball. And the more innings at bats that guys like that get, the deeper this Vandy offense gets. That's just how it works. Jack Bolger has always been a stalwart. He went yak as well. But when you're able to get these new guys, get some more bats, get them more seasoned a little bit, Vandy's going to get better because I don't think this pitching is going anywhere. The question for them is offensively. And the more they can develop that depth, the better you feel about them when conference play comes around, which is really what matters in the SEC.
Fact. And, all these preseason games, it's nice to go out there and get those wins, but that nothing really matters until March, May. I don't even count April. I'm just kidding. April's important.
The
But
DVH
March,
doesn't
April,
either. I mean, that's his signature.
I know. Well, he's a smart man, so am I. Auburn 7, Iowa 5. Monty 3 home runs for Auburn in the 7th and 8th. Brody Breck comes out for Iowa and takes care of business. 1 earned run, 11 strikeouts, but doesn't get the win because the Iowa bullpen fails again.
Man, you could tell almost. I mean, Auburn was so overpowered by Brecht. Yeah, they managed to scratch out two out hits to get 2 runs after a couple of walks. But you could tell the moment that Brecht came out of the game that they were a lot more confident. It was the Auburn lineup we were used to seeing. It was just such a dominant effort by Brecht with those 11 strikeouts, generating a ton of swing and misses. But as soon as they went to the bullpen, Iowa went to the bullpen, Auburn's going to be confident and they're going to feel confident that they're not facing Brody Brecht anymore. And that's what happened. And they were able to capitalize on the new pitcher. And it was 7-3. And then Sam Peterson, for Iowa, was a fantastic hitter, and he hit a 2-run blast to make it a little bit more interesting, but it was really all Auburn once Brecht got out of the game.
Yeah, and it was, Auburn took care of business. It's a big win for Auburn. It's another just bullpen loss for Iowa, and we got to really start to question whether this Iowa bullpen is going to be enough to get them to Omaha like this team really wants to get there. I'm worried if I'm an Iowa fan. I know that those starting pitchers are going to go longer and longer, but they're not getting the offensive production to get up early in those games and give that bullpen a chance to go out there and win games. And I'm worried if I'm an Iowa fan at this point, the fact that they just can't seem to get key outs in those late games. Speaking of a team who can't seem to get any outs right now, Jake, Stanford 4, Penn State 15. 1 extra base hit for Stanford, a team that usually has been this year. They just cannot seem to find the juice. Big game for Bryce Molinari though. 3 hits and a home run for Penn State, but this has got to be shocking if you're Stanford.
I mean, it's a big game for Mike Gambino, the Penn State head coach. I mean, 15-6, probably one of the best wins in Penn State program history against a Stanford team that, I mean, yeah, they went to Omaha the last 3 years. So, I mean, you can still kind of hang your hat on that. But as much as we kind of like to trust David Esker, I mean, there's just not a lot of meat on these bones in this team. I mean, the bullpen was abysmal pretty much every step of the way. I mean, they're going to have to get more outside of guys like Malcolm Moore and Jimmy Natty. Those seem to be kind of the only 2 guys in this lineup that have any kind of approach at the plate. I mean, it looked like at the plate they were facing Hagen Smith, and that's not what Penn State has at all. So, I mean, this Stanford team's really, really going to struggle because we've seen teams like Washington State's better than we thought. Cal's better than we thought. I mean, Stanford's going to really, really struggle in a lot of these packed weekends going forward. And I think we instituted a new rule on our pick'em show is that Stanford is now moved from a favorite that we can pick on them to lose to now they're now an upset opponent. You can pick them to win a series and that would be considered an upset.
We're not moving that shift yet, but we're close, Jake. We're close.
I'm gonna say no anytime somebody's trying to use an upset against Stanford.
That's fair. I think we're not accepting those. We're not accepting
Yeah.
votes on that.
They're not
The books are closed.
They hate us because they ain't us.
All right, Monty, who did something cool? This is one of my favorite segments. I know this is your first show this year. Who did something cool this weekend?
I did.
Yeah?
I should. Yeah, no. No.
That's I think he's the first one.
The ACC freshmen, just a monster day for them. Walk-off hits from Ryan Zuckerman and Henry Ford. You had Friday night starts for Brett Renfro at Virginia Tech and Foger Boaz at UNC. And then Daniel Covett broke the game open for Miami last night, and he's been absolutely on fire. He's hitting he's 13 for 21 to start the year with like 6 extra base hits, and he's quietly really been the guy for Miami. So the freshman class in the ACC just an outstanding Friday for them.
Fair enough. Freshman of ACC did something cool. Jake, who's your did something cool?
I got Creighton, Noah's favorite team. They won 22-1 in 7 innings. They're averaging 23 runs on Friday. They're the best Friday night lineup in the country. Excited to see if Creighton can kind of keep this streak going. But outside of that, I did want to touch on Monty's kind of home blood. I mean, UT Arlington beat BC 11-6. I mean, that's a really, really big win for UT Arlington team.
That's a good win for UT Arlington. Not a great loss for BC. Noah, who did something cool?
Well, I know that I kind of politicaled myself out last week, so I'm gonna deliver with multiple this week, Mark. I know that I have to deliver because the real winner in all this is, of course, the fans. I know Monty's saying I can only get one, but I'm going to take multiple here. My first something cool, Cardell Dick. I'm going with Omaha here. He goes to UNO, which is, of course, the University of Nebraska Omaha. Inside the Park Grand Slam, he's a freshman to cut Long Beach State's lead to 10-9. UNO ended up forcing extras against that good Long Beach State program. Came up short, but he's having an outstanding season. When you can hit it inside the Park Grand Slam, that's going to be something pretty cool in my book every single time. And then another thing that I thought was cool was kind of a double whammy here. Kennesaw State, of course, upsetting Clemson and beating them 18-1 is incredible in itself. But I really liked how Clemson's head coach Eric Bakich pulled the starters in the 6th, and he said, "This isn't what we're about, guys," and he's making them feel it. These guys should be embarrassed about that performance. And I pretty much guarantee that Clemson is going to come out looking really strong today.
I would bet a lot of money on that Clemson ball club today.
Clemson money
Yeah,
line.
can I get 2 more? Can I get 2 more as well since he got 3? No,
I took
You
last
had
week
5
off
players.
money.
You had all the freshmen in the ACC, so you had like 50 players.
Every freshman.
I'm gonna touch on Hagen Smith. It was really cool to watch him throw against Oregon State last night. This guy is legit ace. I know a lot of MLB teams there were watching that and going, "Yeah, we could use that. We could use him with that slider, that wipeout slider." 17 strikeouts out of 18 hits, unbelievable, or 18 outs. Just a really good performance. Put his team in a position to win. Oregon State, of course, came back, so it's a no decision with 17 strikeouts and only 78 pitches. My other something cool, I have another one just because I really liked it. Nick Brink for University of Portland shuts out USC. 6 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts. Really good performance. We'll talk about more about USC later here, but Nick Brink for University of Portland Pilots, terrific Friday night for him. Record here for him for 10 strikeouts. Noah, who didn't impress you this weekend?
Well, I think the answer is probably going to be unanimous here. Ole Miss losing to High Point 7-2. This program's kind of just headed in the wrong direction. They had been for a little bit now. You have to wonder what's going on there. They, of course, have some outside noise going on too that we aren't even going to try and speculate on. But they're just something's off with this Ole Miss program, and really it's the entire state of Mississippi. But it's not ideal to be losing your Friday games to a team like High Point. Great win for High Point.
Yeah, it's either good cheese or bad Indian food, but something's going on there in Ole Miss. Jake, who did not impress this weekend?
I think I'm going to steal Monty's here, but I'm going to go with Louisville. I mean, they looked abysmal in their first game against I forget who they played, but they looked abysmal. They won the back end of a doubleheader. It was a very forgettable kind of day for Louisville, but they finally get their first win of the season. But I mean, man, it took a long, long time for them to get that first win.
Monty, who did not impress? Yeah, was it Louisville? Yeah. Louisville was your not impressed?
It was Louisville because I'm an ACC guy and Jake needs to mind his damn business in Texas. But I'll shift and go to BC. I mean, Boston College is a team that's trying to build on what they had last year. I know they've got a new head coach and Todd Interdonato from Wofford, and they to go out there and the bullpen kind of fell apart after John West gave up a couple of runs. So you want to see more out of Boston College, but it's good to see Cam Leary hit 2 home runs in a game, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna take away a positive, Leary hitting the 2 home runs at least is something. But but BC's got to be better, otherwise they're not going to be able to compete this year in the ACC because there's a lot of good teams in the ACC. I'm gonna kind of piggyback off what you said there, Monty, and take 3 teams out of the Pac-12 that really did not impress. Washington still doesn't have a win. USC still doesn't have a win, and Stanford has 1 win so far this season. This is just not the performances you want to see if you're a Pac-12 fan in the last season of the Pac-12. A lot of good things like Washington State and Utah playing a lot better, Cal playing better, but when those 3 teams are not winning games, it's pretty bad. Who looked the best? You know what, Monty? I'm going to go you first, so Jake can't steal whatever he. I see Jake stewing something in his brain here. Who looked the best, Monty?
Duke, Pittsburgh. No, Duke. I'm going to go with Duke. I mean, Duke looks like the class of the ACC. Yeah, I know we talked about how their offense only scored 2 runs. I don't care when they got the pitching performance they got there, and the game never felt in doubt despite a 2-run deficit. I think they continue to look like the class of the ACC. They're number 1 in my power rankings for a reason, and I think they're going to stay that way after this weekend.
They're one of my Omaha picks for a reason, and I had them since December. It's because of pitching. They're really, really good. Noah, who looked the best?
I'm glad you went to me, Mark, because just to talk about that Duke team, I've had them in my Omaha 8 since June. So go ahead and thank me for that. But for me, outside of the obvious choices, I'm sure Hagen Smith is still in all the headlines. Everybody knows about his performance. But looking at Georgia Tech, this is just a team that has shown so much grit. I really love what this roster has been able to do with Drew Burris, Peyton Green. It feels like they're never out of a game. They haven't really played an outstanding ball club yet. We'll see when that time comes. But right now, I really enjoy watching them play. And then I want to give a shout-out to, the Nebraska pitching staff. This is a staff that struggled mightily last year, and they're looking a lot stronger this year. They played a couple good teams. They went 1-2 in that Arlington opening weekend down there. They're now 2-0 against Grand Canyon, looking to take the series today. This is a staff that, if they're able to get things together, they can be a force in the Big Ten, up there with maybe a Maryland Rutgers tier.
Did Jake also put Grand Canyon on notice, saying that they were playing really good and that they might be undefeated, and then they go out and lose to Nebraska? Jake,
Twice.
You got the kids of death going.
Chef's kiss.
I just realized when Noah brought up Georgia Tech that when I talked about freshmen on Friday night, I didn't bring up Drew Burris at all, and he had a good night as well. So my apologies.
I gave you all the freshmen, Monty. I gave you all the freshmen.
He deserved a name drop.
Okay, Jake,
I'm glad that Noah picked up my slack.
I'm going to go with probably the most forgettable game of the day, but Texas Tech broke a school record for runs. They beat Texas Southern 32-5. I know it's Texas Southern, and I know that they walked a lot, but 32 runs is just crazy anytime you do it. And then Texas A&M 17-2 against a really, really overmatched Wagner team. A lot of guys got to play, so it was very, very deep Texas A&M lineup. And again, like Noah said, the competition's going to get better, but Texas A&M's taking care of business in every way, shape, and form so far.
They have taken care of business. Yeah, Monty?
Can I say something real quick? Jake said the most forgettable game of the day, and then proceeded to say it was a school record, which means it's literally not forgettable.
No one talked about it. I mean, it was at 4:00. It was sandwiched in between those early tournament games, and they were just
school record. School record.
I bet you we're the only ones talking about it. We're talking about Texas Tech, Texas Southern. No one's going to bring that up.
It was all over my Twitter.
My something cool is, or my win of the weekend here, who looked the best, is University of Oregon. 10 extra base hits, like Monty talked about earlier. That team really took care of business being the home opener there, and their uniforms were dope. They had those really cool throwback uniforms from 1954. I got to give props. University of Oregon taking care of business. Waz down there, going there, getting wins, double-digit extra base hits. That team could be really scary, and if they get a host again, look out. That U of O team is really coming alive. Let's go to the picks. Jake, are you ready for picks?
No.
So every single week we do the 5 series that we pick. This week we had ECU, UNC. Noah and myself took ECU, lost the 2-1 opener with Yesage. Noah, how are we feeling on that one?
Well, you can't feel that bad because you can kind of spin it and feel like ECU should have won the game. They made a lot of mistakes, and those are, of course, things that happened. You can't dodge them too much there. But It felt like that they were the better team. They had a lot of opportunities to win, and then they just kind of made mistakes that you can't do on another team's field and expect to win that game. So I think they have a chance to win the next two. Obviously, when you waste a start from your ace like that, it's tough to overcome. But I think ECU has a strong chance of winning the next two.
If I'm guessing that Monty, who took North Carolina, does not think that ECU can win one of the next two.
Not if they can't win the Trey Savage start. Like that's their Friday night guy. That takes the wind out of their sails. I think they could win one of the next two, but UNC's lineup is not going to be held to 2 runs in either of the next 2 games.
Yeah, I think the UNC lineup comes alive. Jake, I'm assuming you feel the same way, that you're feeling pretty comfortable now.
Yeah, I mean, like Monty said, I mean, they won on Friday night. They just have to take care of business in the last 2. I'm really, really hoping. I know that I love the ECU fans, but they get some bad juju in those Grimace uniforms and stop wearing them, because, I mean, it was a loss. That's kind of the real winner there is us for not having to see those purple uniforms again, hopefully they believe in superstitions down in East Carolina.
On to another purple team next, TCU and UCLA. I am the lone UCLA person. I thought that UCLA had a chance of coming back there. Really good win for TCU. They just keep finding ways to win there. Jake, TCU taking care of business in a 4-3 win.
Yeah, I feel really good too about TCU going forward. They're going to get Cole Klecker going today. Excited to see kind of how he's stretched out, as I know he is in a very, very limited role. But again, with Peyton Tolley being the two-way guy, he's either going to pitch Friday or Sunday. So that allows Cole Klecker to kind of be a Friday night guy on Saturday. So I feel really good about TCU going forward.
Yeah, and Monty, I know that you took TCU as well. Got to feel good about that Friday night win.
Yeah, I was just really, really impressed with how they performed opening weekend, and I know UCLA sometimes doesn't live up to expectations, so I just felt pretty good about about TCU in the series early in the season.
Yeah, my expectations on UCLA were to maybe go down there and steal a Friday night game. They've been playing pretty well, but they did play Gonzaga to start. Noah, I know you're all over this TCU team.
Yeah, this is a TCU team that I have. I actually have them winning the national championship this season, so I'm a big believer in what Sarloos has been able to do down there, and I think that I'm going to pick TCU to win every series that we pick on this show until they start to burn me, which I don't see happening.
Fair enough. It means I'm going to have to keep putting TCU games in here just so you have to keep picking them.
I am 0-5, so I apologize for all my picks.
Let's go Bruins the next 2. The kiss of death from Noah. UP, I am shocked here, Jake. I mean, I'm not shocked. I'm shocked that everybody else went with me of Portland. Jake, USC did not look like the team yesterday.
I thought they would get some kind of pep talk after that abysmal performance against Loyola Marymount when they were on the road. I thought they were going to kind of actually have an approach at the plate. And I need to stop making assumptions about Pac-12 teams, because they did not have an approach at the plate at all. I mean, they were shut out against a team. And I'm sorry, I know Portland's a scrappy team, and I know we love Portland, but USC should never get shut out on Friday night against a team like Portland. Based on their recruiting, based on their baseball history, based on everything. Credit to the Pilots, but I mean, this is an embarrassing program from USC, an embarrassing performance.
Caden Aoki has not got a win yet. He's 0-2, and we were talking about him winning Pac-12 Pitcher of the Year early in the season, and it's just shocking to see this USC team struggle mightily with the offense. Noah, you went Portland Pilots with me?
Yeah, I think that this is a USC team that I'm pretty sure I gave them a top 25 vote to start the year, and they burnt me badly. I believe in this USC program long term. We showed how good they can be last season, but right now Portland has a lot of positive momentum behind their program. I know that they've been nice to you, Mark, so that goes a long way for me. I think that I was kind of hoping to sneak one past everybody. I'm with you, Mark. I imagined that Monty would go USC here, but you know, Monty is the hardest working guy in college baseball, so good on him to join us. Want to know?
Yeah. Hell hath no fury like a Noah scorned, going against USC early now. Monty, you went the
battle of the jinxes
Portland as well.
Yeah, it had more to do with USC than Portland when I chose Portland. USC cannot score.
Yeah, they're hitting about $179 so far this year to start, and that is not going to produce runs. Next one up, we got UConn and Cal. So Jake and Monty, you guys you have AJ written down there, which AJ.
Yeah, that's a typo. I do apologize.
AJ did make his picks as well, so we'll have his picks also in here. But yes, Monty, I'm gonna let you start there with UConn over Cal.
I thought UConn was rather impressive opening weekend with their win over Louisville. Of course, I didn't realize Louisville would continue to be as bad as they were when I made this pick. And then Cal had lost a pretty big game against Boston College in the Desert Invitational. So that's kind of where I was thinking. I was kind of 50-50 on this series, but I ended up leaning towards the Huskies. Just a gut feeling.
If you're 50-50 on the series, that means I'm making good picks here for us to have to make these picks. Jake, you went with the Huskies as well?
Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat as Monty. This was the series that was kind of the hardest for me to pick. I really liked what UConn did against Louisville. If they let us remake these picks at 4:30, I probably would have switched it to Cal. I thought Cal not necessarily got lucky with Kansas State, but everything went right for them. And it turns out that I was dead wrong. I think that I need to start buying stock in this Cal. So, Mark, I'm going to make you a promise. If you add more Cal series, I'm going to keep riding Cal. I think Cal is going to be the horse I ride.
I don't know.
He's patronizing me again.
I feel bad because I should have taken the ACC team here.
Man. Oh, it's too early for this. We're only in week 2, fellas. Come on. Noah, I know you went with me on this Cal team. We both think this Cal Bear team has a lot of upside.
Yeah, I think this is a tournament team if they live up to what they can do, and so far they're looking the part for the most part. They kind of slipped up a little bit early on, but that's what you expect from this team. That they aren't perfect, but they're really fun to watch, and they remind me so much of Georgia Tech. Obviously, the same color scheme, but they're a team that I feel confident that I'm going to ride for as long as I can, and I enjoy watching them play. These are
Wait, they're not the same color scheme.
they are blue and yellow/gold. Same thing.
They are.
Thanks,
Not
Jake.
the exact same colors.
Are you,
Pretty
are you
similar.
colorblind or something?
They are the same color scheme, blue and gold/yellow. Same thing.
I think our fans might be colorblind because you can barely see that Cal logo there today.
Jake, that's rich. You made the graphic.
All right. NC State and Hawaii. I don't think this is any surprise. Everybody took NC State here. Hawaii, great story. Fun to travel out there. Fun to go to games at the Les Muriaka Stadium. NC State's the better team here this weekend. Monty, I know that they seem to get the offense going, but they got to get better pitching if they really want to sweep this weekend.
Well, their best pitcher, their best starter is going today in Dominic Fritton. He didn't have the best outing last week against VCU. I think he was cruising for a little bit and then ran into trouble. I think he's going to have a good day today. And they got Ryan Marone, freshman, going tomorrow. He's one of my cool things because he's a freshman. He's pitching tomorrow for NC State, and he had an amazing debut last Sunday. So look for more of the same. I think NC State's going to sweep.
No, Monty, you only get the Friday night freshman, not the Sunday night freshman. Noah, you went here with NC State also. Pretty easy pick.
Yeah, deep team. We have them right around the top 25. I can't remember if they are ranked or not. I know that I personally don't love them as much as others do, but this is a Hawaii team that obviously they took that series from Ole Miss to start the year. But all right, Monty, I'm sorry that I disrespected NC State a little bit too much. But this is a team that they are kind of limited in what they can do until they really impress me. But against Hawaii, I'm going to ride with the Wolfpack pretty easily.
Yeah, and I love this Hawaii team. Coach Hill's done a terrific job of getting those guys up and getting them ready for these games. But NC State's a better team here. Jake, you win NC State as well.
Yeah, this one was a pretty easy one for me. I mean, Hawaii didn't really look that good against Ole Miss. I know that I was very high on them, but NC State's just a different breed out there. I mean, they're going to come out and I think dominate the rest of the series.
Yeah, I think you take a little notice, too, if you're an NC State team. You go out there and see a team like an Ole Miss go out there and struggle. You're like, all right, we gotta bring it if we want to win this series here. Let's go to our underdog picks. Noah has Penn State. Wait, that says, yeah, Penn State.
Yeah, I messed up the graphics. Sorry
Wow,
about that.
that's sweet.
Okay.
Ignore the bottoms. It's just the tops.
Jake Noah Penn State. This is the last time you'll be able to pick against Stanford, but congratulations, you got the first one. Stanford still can come out and win the next two, but you got to feel pretty good after that first win.
Yeah, like I told you, I talked to the ball club this morning. Job's not finished. We got a long way to go. It's nice to be 1-0, but we have to win one of the next two to feel good about it. Good start for the Nittany Lions. I talked to our guys, and even though you guys all agreed this was an underdog pick, I feel like we have a chip on our shoulder at Penn State Nation, and it's kind of sick that you guys let me pick this one because we view ourselves as the favorite in this one, and we expect to win two, maybe even two of the next two.
I was okay with this because I thought Stanford would come back out and really start hitting, and that was just not the case here. Jake, how you feeling, man? San Diego?
Good. I mean, this was a really controversial pick. I know that there was a discussion about whether or not this was an upset. I know that Texas fans got a lot of crap from A&M fans about struggling against the San Diego team, but I think the San Diego team's really, really underrated, and they played an Arizona team that I thought played their best baseball, and I didn't really see them doing that going forward. San Diego wins 10-8. Like Noah said, more of the same. Got to take care of business though in the next two.
Yeah, and both those picks were definitely out there. We're like, okay, well, they're the underdog, but they're better baseball teams right now. It looks like San Diego, Santa Clara, and Portland are all taking care of business. They're all good teams right now, and they're all in the big conference out there. WCC taking care of business. Monty had Cal Poly. They lost 2-0 to Texas. I don't see them coming back and winning the next two against Texas. I think Friday night was the one they had to go out there and get. LeBaron Johnson Jr. shut the door on that. I took Wright State against Oklahoma, and I was wrong. State. They lost 20-0. I thought maybe Oklahoma had just played its best ball again, like Jake already said, but they did not. They went and took care of Wright State. Wright State's a tournament team, and I assumed maybe that they would come out and play a little bit better, but that did not happen for me. All right, final thoughts, Jake. Final thoughts heading into the weekend.
Excited to get to see more in Arlington. I get to see the real kind of Oregon State lineup. They play a far more inferior Michigan team that I think that they'll feast on. They'll have a really, really good approach at the plate. And I'll get to see Travis Bazzana. I know Mark has been very, very high on him, but every time I've seen him, he really hasn't done that much. So excited to kind of see him kind of live up to the billing because he's faced some tough pitching every time I've seen him, unfortunately.
Fair enough, and he did get he did get a single yesterday. So and
It
Trent
was a good
Caraway
hit, too.
has a
Yeah.
hit. Yeah, Trent Caraway has a hit in every one of his 6 games so far in the collegiate level.
Micah McDowell had some great at bats. I know they
Yeah.
were strikeouts, but they were great at bats.
Wondering if we'll see Brady Casper today since he got hurt late in that one after making a great catch in the right field. But we'll see how that lineup looks. There's plenty of guys that can step up. Noah, final thoughts getting ready for the weekend.
Yeah, just excited to keep watching these great tournaments that we have. I think I gave a shout out to Flow Sports yesterday. They've really improved their game. The broadcast is a lot smoother than it was 2 years ago. You think when Mississippi State was playing Texas and we discovered Landon Sims, but we only had the one camera and it was tough to watch. They've really developed their game, and it feels like I paid the $15 because they have a discounted CAA price these days, and it feels like I got my money's worth in one game. So good for Flow Sports to kind of live up to that. And then also the tournament that Monty's at is going to have some really great action today and tomorrow with these great Iowa, Auburn, and Virginia teams. And Wichita State looks like they're going to be pretty good too.
There's some great college baseball for the rest of the weekend. I know we're all excited to get out there and watch these games. Parts of the country are starting to warm up and be pretty nice. Jake, I'm kind of jealous where you are today. But yeah, we're excited for college baseball, man. Season, week 2, and we're already going. There's already some top 5 matchups, and we can't be any more excited about this season. For myself, Noah Darling, Jake McKeever, this has been the Weekend Rotation. Come join us again next Saturday. We'll